So if you need help, watch again on YouTube. So your online homework due tonight will be 4.1 and 4.2. Your homework due on the following week will be 4.3 and 4.4. 4.3 and 4.4 will be due next Tuesday. So just want to point out to you guys, so you guys, you required to know how to factor. So 4.1 and 4.2 you need to know how to factor. So if you're having problem with factoring, you might need to revise it. If you go to your textbook on P4, that will be factoring. The whole section of P4 is factoring. So if you need to review how to factor it, you go to P4 in your textbook. Yep. All right. So let me share the screen for you guys so you guys can. So let's see if I can jump to P4. Textbook. Where is the textbook? Sorry, I'm looking at textbook here so you guys can. The first thing I want to point out to you guys is the notes. I don't know you guys know that these notes, 4.1 and 4.2 notes, are in D2L. So go to D2L websites. What happens to my computer? Please don't tell me. Go under D2L, go under the materials, go under content. You will get yourself the notes here, the instructor notes. So do look at 4.1 and 4.2. So this is called the rational functions and asymptotes. So the first thing we'll talk about this is going to talk about how we figure out your asymptotes. So in all, your domain first, sorry, your domain comes first. So in order for you to find your domain here, this is the domain, it's going to be all real numbers except x cannot make your denominator become 0. So for example is if you have such fractional function 2x plus 1 over x squared minus 6x plus 5, you require to factor. You require to factor this. And once you factor this, then you get x equals to 5 and 1. You make it equals to 0 and you solve for x. So your domain in this case will be all real numbers except x equals to 5 and x equals to 1. So this is how you figure out your domain in a rational function. It's always, a lot of students just write this in the test, x equals to 5 and x equals to 1 in the test. You won't get the full points. Make sure you write all real numbers except this x equals to 5. So make sure you have all this whole thing in your make sure you have all this in your answer, because if you just give me x equals to 5 and x equals to 1, you will get 2 points. Next, your vertical and horizontal asymptote. Your vertical asymptote is given us by x equals to a. So a lot of you guys email me on the homework. I got it, but why it's wrong? Because you forget to give me x equals 2. So this is the thing that I will do the same thing. Your horizontal asymptote is y equals to something. So a lot of you get it, but did not put x equals 2 or y equals 2. And that's the reason why they'll mark you wrong. Same thing happens in your test. So in your test, if you just give me 5 and 3 without giving me x equals 2 or y equals 2, I will take half a point off each. So make sure you guys do the x equals 2 and y equals 2 in this case. Now, when you guys find the horizontal and vertical asymptote, the first thing you need to know is that it has no common factors. It has to have no common factors. What does it mean by no common factors? A no common factor means that if you have something that is been factored, let's say you got x plus 1 and x minus 3, and the other one is, let's say, 2x plus 5 and x minus 1, you have to cancel this out first. before you even do your asymptotes. Okay, so this is the one that you figure out your asymptotes. You guys with me here? This is what we call as no common factor. So you have to do this first, then you look at your asymptotes. But if you want to find your domain, this is still going to be your domain part. So what is your domain in this case? All real numbers except what? X equals to anyone? This is all in your test. And this kind of questions is very tough. Yep. -5/2. And also what? -1. So don't forget that the domain in this case, you still gonna use this to calculate, to figure out your domain. But this is the one that you find your asymptotes. You guys got the big difference here? You guys see what's going on, right? So make sure you guys know how to factor. That's the first thing you need to know. If you doesn't know how to factor, you're done. And then this is used to figure out your domain. And anything that is canceled, whatever left over is to figure out your asymptote. Now is the asymptote type. So once you got there's no common factor, which is this case, you have to know this. This will be, I always tell my students, this will be your Bible for this class. That means you have to know this. So in order for you to find the vertical asymptotes, you set your dx, which is the denominator, equals to 0, and you solve for x. Okay. In order for you to find your horizontal asymptotes, you have to compare the degree. That means the power. The n is the top power, the m is the bottom power. If your top power is less than your bottom power, then your vertical asymptote will be y equals to 0. If they have exactly the same power, then your horizontal asymptote will be an over bm, which is the ratio of the leading coefficient. So this is what we call as the leading coefficient, an and bm. The ratio means divide them up. Okay. If your top power is greater than your bottom power, then you will have no horizontal asymptote. So when you do in 4.1, then you will say there is no horizontal asymptote. But when you do 4.2, then you will say that it is going to be a slant asymptote. So this is what happens when you guys do my homework, is when you do your 4.1 homework, if this category happens, then you say no horizontal asymptote. If you do 4.2, then you have to figure out the slant asymptote. How do you find your slant asymptote in this case is you have to use syntactic division. I will explain more about that in 4.2. So when you do in my test, you have to use the slant asymptote. So in this case, you cannot say no horizontal asymptote. So this is what you have to do for my test. If you have this case, that means you have to give me the slant asymptote. Okay. So so what happened is in the test, you don't do this one. In the test, you give me that. Okay. Everyone clear with what I want you guys to do during only your 4.1 homework? Do this. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at your 4.1 questions here. So I got question number 8. That's the first question. So so when you look at this question number 8 here, can we factor? Oh my God, sorry. Can we factor? Yeah. Can we factor this 7 minus 4x? Can we factor 7 plus 9x? Can we factor that? Factor including GCF, the greatest common factors. Can we factor this? Yep, I'll do 13. Yep, I'll do that. It's in my note here. So so you cannot factor this and you cannot cancel this. So if you cancel like 7 and 7, and if you cancel this, all wrong, 0 in the test. So since it cannot be factored, so we can figure out what is your vertical asymptote. This is what we call as a no common factor. So you begin to figure out your vertical asymptote. So how do you figure out your vertical asymptote? Is you take your denominator, make it equal to 0, and solve it. So what you get when you solve this? Anyone? Make it equal to 0 and solve it. Anyone? Questions? Anyone? Yep. Now again, not negative. If you give me -7/9, if you type -7/9, you get it wrong. In a test, you also do not get full points. Why? Anyone? Ryan, can you tell me why you won't? If you give this, I'll mark you wrong. Yes. Thank you so much. X equals to, I don't know how many times I'm going to tell you, I'm going to nag you, because in the finals, in the test, I'm not going to tell you anything. Because if you give me this, yep, don't whoops me, because a lot of you asked me that questions in the homework. So don't whoop me up like this, okay? So this is how we find a vertical asymptote. So now we have to figure out your horizontal asymptote. So you look at your powers. So what powers do we have in this case? Anyone know what power do we have in this case? So this is power 1. Yes, this is power 1. So that means that they are same powers. So if you look at this, if they're having the same power, then you will have the ratios of a leading coefficient. So what is so your answer in this case is the ratio of the leading coefficient. What is your leading coefficient of the top one? Yep. Again, a lot of you put -4/9. Don't forget the y equals 2. Yes. Be a habit to do that, because in the test, if you just give me -4/9, then you get wrong. So this is that's the leading coefficient here. And this is your leading coefficient. That's why it's -4/9. So, and when you type this, again, you need to have x equals 2 and y equals 2. Okay, there you go. So make sure you do exactly what I just tell you. I just written it down here. So x equals to -7/8, comma here. Y equals to is that a comma? Yep, -4. Is that 4/9? Do I have? I forgot already. Yeah, 4/9. You guys all right here? Now, if you have 7, let me see. 7/9. What I'm doing here? There. Yep, 7/9. Sorry. So yeah. So next is number 9. I'll just do question 9 here. Again, question 9, there is no common factor. The vertical asymptote is very easy to find, because you make this equals to 0. So you will get x equals to -5. But if you look at the power, this power is power 2, the top one. The bottom one is power 1. So we know that 2 in this case is greater than 1. And if you look at this, so this will be this case where your top power is greater than your bottom power. So in this case, there is no horizontal asymptote. So this question is no horizontal asymptote. So how do you write this in your question 9 here? Do you write this out? X equals to -5, and then they say that if there is use none or no, do you write down as x equals to -5, and then none or no or something else? Is that how you're going to do it? The answer is no. What you do in your online homework is just x equals to -5. So if you have no, you do not need to specify it. Okay. The only time that you will use no is where you don't have a vertical asymptote, you don't have a horizontal asymptote, and you don't have a Snellen asymptote. If you don't have any of these asymptote, then you will use no. But if you have only one or two or multiples of those, then you just list it out. You do not need to put none or no in the one that it doesn't have it. You guys clear with me? How do you do your homework here? All right, number 13. Factoring is the one that you guys need to do on question 13. A lot of students get no, cannot write 0. 0 and no are two different things. X equals to 0 means it does have an asymptote. No means no. So 0 and no is two different things. So 0 is 0, no is no. They are not the same. Okay. So Ibrahim, be careful with that. So factoring. So how do you factor this one? I'm wondering how many of you can factor this? I'm not talking about quadratic formula. I'm talking about factoring. Do you guys know how to factor this? If you guys need to brush up factoring, you better go to P4. Yes, go to your textbook, ebook, P4. That's how. If you doesn't know, because if you doesn't know how to factor, say goodbye to 4.1 and 4.2. So the first thing about factoring here is your leading coefficient. Pay attention. If your leading coefficient is a negative, you have to factor it out. So when you factor a negative out, all the sign will change from negative to positive, positive to negative. Now, this is, we're gonna factor this using the trial and error because you got a 10 here. So can someone tell me what times what is 10? The factor for 10, what times what is 10? Yep, so we can try 2, 5. Okay, so 2x and 5x. What times what is 3? Sorry, -3. We just use -3. This one you only got one factor, which is 1 and 3, right? And in order for yours to have a negative means one of them has to be plus, one of them is to have the minus. So what you need to do here is you have to do the foiling. Now, when you do the foiling, you do not need to do the first and the last because the first will give you 10x squared, the last will give you -3. But what you need to do is you have to check the outside and the inside. So the middle term has to be -13x. So 2x times -3 is -6x. 1 times 5 is +5x. So this only give me -1x. So guess what? 1 and -3 will not work here. So this is not working because we need to get -13, but you only get -x. So what do? I switch them around. So I will switch the 1 and 3 around. So instead of using 1 and 3, I will use 3 and 1 because if you use that, you get a different numbers. Okay, so I will use 3 and 1. And I'm going to put 1 plus and 1 minus because of this. So 2x times -1 is -2x. 3 times 5 is +15x. So actually, this gives me 13x. This is good. But my sign is a negative. This is a positive. So what do I do with my sign is I switch them. So instead of plus and minus, I'm going to put minus and plus. So if you got this, you will end up with a -13x. So the factor for this one is going to be a -2x minus 3 and 5x plus 1. Now you factor the bottom one. 3x squared plus 4x minus 4. Go ahead and factor it for me. You guys have to do this work. Class, this is not 1180. This is like 980. You're like 2 steps below it. So if you doesn't know how to factor, I will send you back to 980. You are this class is very quick. You guys know, right? This is a super acceleration class that combines 2 classes together. So this is not supposed to be, I'm not teaching you guys this. So might say 3x plus 2 and x minus 2. So let's check it. So 3x times x is 3x squared. 2 times negative is negative 4. That's correct, but we should check. 3x times negative 2 is negative 6x. 2 times x is positive 2x. Yes, this is wrong because you get only negative 4x, but I have to get a positive 4x. So Mike, you have to switch your sign. So this become what? 3x minus 2 and x plus 2. So unfortunately, nothing is in common. So you cannot cancel anything here. So this will be what we will be using in this to find your asymptotes. So how do you find your vertical asymptote? You have to set your denominator equals to 0. So what is x going to be in this case? And you got 2 answers for this case. X equals to 2/3. No, you need to switch your sign again, Mike. And x equals to negative 2, right? So this is your vertical asymptote. Now we need to find your horizontal asymptote. You look at your powers. The good thing is look at this original question because it's easy to figure out your power. So what power do we have on the top one? It has a power 2. What power we have on the bottom one? Also power 2. And this power is the same power. And what do I say about same power? You have to do the ratio of the leading coefficient. So what is the ratio of this leading coefficient? Don't forget the y equals to. What's your answer here for horizontal asymptote? Yep, negative 10/3. So now you got 3 answers. You're going to put all 3 in there. So the first one is x equals to 2/3, comma, x equals to negative 2, comma, y equals to negative 10/3. So this is how you submit your, how you do your answer. So again, class, without any factoring, that's why a lot of students having tough time 13 because it doesn't know how to factor. That's the main part of it. Okay. Questions so far in 4.1. Anyone have any questions? These are 2 questions I found out that you guys need help with. Anyone have any questions in 4.1? Besides these 2 questions. Graphing. How do you graph this? Since we have your asymptotes, so 2/3 will be x equals to 2/3 is right over here. Negative 2 is right over here. So this is your vertical asymptote. And then your horizontal asymptote is negative 10/3. What is negative 10/3? Let me use my calculator. Negative 10/3 is negative 3.333. So this negative 3.333 will be your horizontal asymptote. So this is, and your graph will be look very similar. Like you make sure you have all these correct asymptotes. And when you do your asymptotes, you have to use a dashed line. In the test, if you do, I will ask you to graph, and if you do not graph this on your asymptotes, you will lose 1 point automatically. So make sure you graph your asymptote. And how do you graph your asymptote? I just showed it to you just now. Use a dashed line. You will have to graph your vertical and your horizontal asymptotes. You guys all right here so far with this question? Anyone have any questions in 4.1 before we move on to 4.2? Because 4.2 is the one that I want to concentrate more today. Right, if you do have questions, you can stay back after class and talk to me because I'm free. So 4.2 now, questions on 4.2. Anyone have questions on 4.2? Because I have 19 here, question 19. Anyone have any questions for me in 4.2? You can talk to me now or, yep, 21, 23. All right, let's take a look at 4.2 here. Yep. So 4.2 has a lot of things to do here. So this is what you guys need to do in 4.2. Okay. Sorry, let me show you a better one because this is not the. No, this is the one. So when you want to graph a rational functions, you have to go through 8 steps. This is what we do here. So this is the right way to do it. First, your domain, you have to find your domain. How do you find your domain? Is you set your denominator equals to 0. Oh, by the way, this graphing a rational function is going to worth 12 points in your test. So yes, like question number 19, 20, 21, 23 that you guys asked me, it worth 12 points in your test, and you have to do all this work. And the thing is that it is guided. That means you do not need to memorize all these steps. It will be guided. This is the first thing you do, find the domain. Second, you have to give me, simplify it. Third, find the y and x intercept. Fourth, the vertical and horizontal or the slant asymptotes, and then so on and so on. So it's guided to you. So you do not need to go through this, like remember everything, okay? I'll give you an example later on. So first, to find a domain, your denominator set equals to 0. We just did it in the first minute or first 5 minutes in the class today. And then simplify, we also did, which is no common factors, means you have to factor them up. Now, last time when we do the questions, we did not, we have canceled, right? Remember last time we do a question like this and we cancel one of this factor, right? This will give us what we call as a hole. So when you draw a graph, the graph will have a hole in it. So the common factors that you cancel out will cause you a hole in there. I will show it to you what it looks like. I think one of these questions might have holes in it. And then next, you have to find your y and x intercept. So your y-intercept, you set all your x to become 0. For your x-intercept, you take your numerator become 0. So this is your numerator. You make it equal to 0, and this is how you find your x-intercept. Okay, and do not forget that for x and y-intercept, your answer has to be in coordinates. So when you find, let's say, x in this case is 5, don't give me 5, it should be 5, 0. So a lot of students write 5 in the test, you get it wrong. It should be 5, 0. Same thing with the y-intercept. Let's say your y-intercept is -1, then it should be 0, -1. Okay, so this is how you find your x-y intercept. Then the next thing is you have to find your asymptotes. Again, this asymptotes is exactly the same as what I told you early on the Bible. If you remember the Bible here. Vertical asymptote, set the denominator equals to 0. Horizontal asymptote, if you have y equals 0, it depends on the powers. If your power is greater than m, then you have a slant asymptote, syntactic division. And then, so this is how you find your asymptotes. So once you finish finding your asymptotes, then you have to check, this is step 6 here, you have to check your graph that is crossed the horizontal or slant asymptote. And how do you do it? Is you take your f of x equals to your horizontal asymptote or slant asymptote and solve for x. So I just want to point out to you that your graph can maybe cross one of these asymptotes, but it never cross on the vertical asymptote, okay? And 7, you have to figure out your end behavior. I will teach you how to do that too. And then the last thing is graph. So this whole thing will cost 12 points in your test, okay? So let's take a look at question number 19 here, okay? So now, because in your online homework, everything is multiple choice, right? If you look at the graph, they are multiple choice like this, right? In your test, you don't get multiple choice. In the test, you have to graph it your own. So everything here is, I just give you this. And now I'll just say A, find the domain, find the intercept, find the asymptotes, and so on, so on. So how do we do question number 19 on all the 8 steps? So pay attention. This worth 12 points in your test, 12 points. X squared over x minus 3. So first thing is to find the domain. So how do you find your domain? Is you set your denominator equals to 0. So your answer is all real numbers except what? X equals to what? What's the domain in this case? X equals to 3, yep. So that's easy, that's this question, right? This one. Next, you have to find your X, you have to simplify, okay? You have to simplify. So can we simplify this? No, this one cannot be simplified because they cannot be factored and there's no like term. So this is the simplest form we can get. Okay. Next, we have to find your x-intercept. Does anyone know how do you find the x-intercept? Very important. Set your numerator equals to 0. What is your numerator? This is my numerator. X squared equals to 0. So x in this case will be 0. Don't forget, it has to be coordinates. So your x-intercept in this case is 0, 0. You guys okay with me so far? How do you find your y-intercept? In order for us to find the y-intercept, you have to set all your x to become 0. Yep, h0. Yep. So in this case, you will get 0 squared. So I put all my zeros here. 0 minus 3. So this is still come out to be 0. So my y-intercept is still 0, 0. So in this case, 0, 0. 0, 0. So this is how we do your x and y intercept. See, now you have to find your vertical asymptote. So VA is a short form for me for vertical asymptote. You can also do that in your test, and HA and SA for horizontal or slant. So in this case, you have to find, in order for us to do this, you set your denominator equals to 0. So again, we already did it, x minus 3 equals to 0. So again, you have to put x equals to 3. This is how you do your vertical asymptote. Now you have to figure out what kind of asymptote we have for the horizontal or slant. So in order for us to do this, you look at your powers. So this power is 2. And this bottom power is 1. And in this case, 2 is greater than 1. So if you remember, if your top power is, where was that at? There you go. If your top power is greater than the bottom power, you have to, it's a slant asymptote. And how do you do your slant asymptote? You have to do syntactic division. So this question will give us the slant asymptote. And how do you find your slane asymptote? Pay attention, is you have to do syntactic division in this case. So syntactic division is this below. So this number that you always put in your syntactic division is gonna be 3. Where do I get the 3 from? It comes from your vertical asymptote, or you can come from your this x equals minus 3. And then this, you need a leading coefficient. So you got x squared, so that is 1. And then the x is 0. The constant term is 0. Don't forget, if you do not have any terms, you have to put 0 for the placeholder. So the x squared is 1. X is 0, constant is 0. So now we do syntactic division on this one. So you drop the 1, I drop the 3. Drop the 1, 3. And then you multiply that with 3. And then you add it. This is what you did on last homework, right? And then 3 times 3 is 9, and then you get 9. Now, this is usually what we call as your remainder. But as you guys know that when you do this, when you do the slane asymptote, you don't care about your remainder. You only care about your quotient here. So what you have in this case, don't forget you put y equals 2. A lot of you forget about that. This will be 1x plus 3. So this is a slane asymptote. A slane asymptote means that it's a linear line, y equals to mx plus b, where m is your slope, b is your y intercept. This is your m, and that is your b. You guys with me here? How we find your slane asymptote using your syntactic division? If you do this, if you do watch, I think you guys know that your homework has that watch button, right? This one doesn't have it. They all have a watch it button. If you watch the online homework, they do the long division. So please don't do long division. You can do long division, but it takes you like more long time to do it. So we don't do long division in this case. Okay, so your answer for this case is x equals to 3 for your vertical asymptote. Your slane asymptote is y equals to x plus 3. Okay, which I can drop the 1. You guys okay so far? Because you're going to do this in my test, and this one worth again 12 points. I'm going to nag you a bit more. Part D. This is a difficult part. Cross. Does it cross on the slane asymptote? Okay. So how do we know if this cross on the slane asymptote is you take the whole h of x and you make it equals to the x plus 3. The slane asymptote that you found in question C here, part C here. So what you do is you take x squared over x minus 3 equals to x plus 3. And how do we solve for x? Well, how do we solve for x? We multiply x minus 3 to that side. So this is cancel out. So what we left in this case is x squared. You have to FOIL this fellow out. This will get x squared minus 9 because the middle term will cancel. And then you subtract x squared on both sides. And you find out that you only get 0 equals to 9. This is not solvable. The reason why is there's no x. You cannot solve this. So in this case, does it cross at the slane asymptote? The answer will be no. That means that this graph will never cross on the y equals to x plus 3. Okay. If it's solvable, let's say you got plus x here behind, you can solve this minus x squared, and so you move, so x equals to 9. So that means that at x equals to 9, when you draw the graph, when x equals to 9, it will cross on the slane asymptote. So this graph will cross right over here. So that's the meaning when I ask, does it cross or not? That's the meaning of it. Does it cross on this line or not? If you cannot solve it, the answer is no. That means no means that it will go like this, go parallel with that line. Okay. But if it's crossed, that means it will go down like that. You guys got what's the meaning of that? Of part D? crossing this plane asymptote? Questions so far in this case? Anyone have any questions here? E, end behavior. This is all important. If you want to go to calculus, you better pay attention here because this is all what we're going to do. This is all going to be applied to you in calculus. So what is end behavior? End behavior means that when the graph approaching the vertical asymptote, it can go to positive infinity or it can go to negative infinity. So this is what we call as the end behavior. So how do you test this end behavior? Is you looking at your vertical asymptote, which in this case is x equals to 3. So this is 3 here. Okay. So what you need to do is you have to figure out a number that is very close to 3 on the left side, and you have to figure out a number that is very close to 3 on the right side. So what do we do in this case is this number will be 2.99999, and this number is 3.00001. So I'm talking about not 3, but very close to 3. So this is 2.99999. So what you need to do here is you have to plug. So this is called x approaching 3 minus. So when you say 3 minus means that it's on the left side. And when I say 3 plus, this is on the right side. So those students who are doing calculus, you have to pay attention here. So what you do here is you have to plug in x, in this case is 2.9. Just make it simple, you do 2.9. Put it over on this function here, the h of x. And what we need to figure out is, are they going to positive or negative infinity? So when you take 2.999 square, do you think you get a positive number or negative number? When you take 2.9 and you square it, you get positive or negative number? You don't only get the number, it's just figure out the sign. So this will give me a positive number. What happens when you put 2.99999 minus 3? You think this will get a positive or a negative number? 2.999 minus 3 will give us a negative number. So a plus and a minus will give us a minus. So what happened is that when this approaching to the left, it goes to negative infinity. It goes down, not goes up. So we can tell that this graph goes down on this number. Next, we're gonna use x is 3 plus. What is 3 plus? 3 plus means it is on the right side. So I will use 3.1. So what you need to do here is again figure out, are they going to positive or negative infinity? So now I'm going to use 3.1 here. So 3.1 square is a positive number. And then I'll also use 3.1 here. So 3.1 minus 3 is also positive. So that means that this will also go to positive infinity. So what it's telling me here is that when this graph approaching 3 on the right hand side, it will go to positive infinity. So this is part E, which is a lot of students have difficult on it. And the last thing we're gonna do is graphing it. Okay, so I'm gonna graph this one. So how do you graph this? Is first graph your x and y intercept. Follow your step. Don't need to graph A, but graph B at B, C, D, E. So first graph your x and y intercept. We know the x and y intercept, the graph is at, the point is at 0, 0. So it's right here. Next, your graph vertical asymptote, which is x equals to 3. Don't forget all your asymptote, the graph, the line is a dashed line. And then you have to graph y equals to x plus 3. As you know that this is your y-intercept is at 3. 1 means your slope is 1. So you go up 1 over 1. Go up 1 over 1. Go up 1 over 1. Or go down 1. So this is how you graph your Slane asymptote. Y equals to mx plus b. This is the line that goes something like this. Okay, so now you got this both your vertical and your Slane asymptote. And now we figure out part D, this line will not cross either one of these lines. So make sure that means you cannot cross them. So that means that your graph can be a U shape here, or like this, or a U shape like this, or like that. So that means that they're not crossing these lines. And then the end behavior tells us that this will goes down, and this will goes up. So this tell at 3 on the left side, it goes to the negative infinity. This will goes up. So your graph will look like this because it has to cross this point. So it goes down like this because it cannot cross. So it looks something like that. And then this one will look something like this. It's not like a parabola type. And the reason why this one cannot goes up, because once it goes up, it crosses on the x-axis. So this one is going to be kind of like a parabola that touches at 0, 0. So this is your graph what looks like. But this is what you guys need to do for my test. This is all worth 12 points in your test. But on your online homework, it will be this one because it will touch at 0, 0. So your online homework already graphed a lot of things for you. So that's why on your online homework, look at that. You do not need to do all these crazy steps, right? You just say, oh, look at this. So yeah, so you had to do all these things in your test here. So on your online homework, it's a multiple choice. As I told you in your test, that's not a multiple choice in this case. Is this tough? Is this a lot of work? Oh, yes. Okay. So this one worth 12 points. So if you want to take a picture or something else, a snapshot, I don't care, your phone, you can go ahead and do it before I shut everything, before I delete the whole thing off. So go ahead and take out your, if you need, this is for question number 19. If you need this, please or you can rewatch it again in YouTube. Okay. Are you done taking snapshot or notes or anything before I move on to the next question, number 21? I think 21, you see a hole in this case. This one doesn't have a hole yet. All right, I'm gonna move on to number 21 here. So question 21 is where they give you this function again. Yep, this one might have a hole on it. I don't know, we'll see. All right, so question A, what is the domain? You guys do it. This is very easy. Don't forget to put all real numbers, except in the test, if you just give me x equals to something, you will not get full points. I want you guys to go ahead, find the domain in this case. All real numbers, except what? X equals to, this is supposed to be easy. Yep, 8. Set your denominator equals to 0, right? All right, B, you have to simplify this fraction here, this rational fraction. So I'll go ahead and factor this one out. This is supposed to be easy to factor. Can we factor x? No, we cannot factor this one, right? X squared minus x plus 8. What number is a factor of 8? What times what is 8? 1 and 8. 2 and 4, right? Can you make a -1 on this? None of this work. So that means that this is already been simplified. So that means you cannot factor this anymore. Okay. C, you have to find your intercept. So let's find your x-intercept first. So to find your x-intercept, you have to set your numerator become 0. So this is x squared minus x plus 8 equals to 0. And we know this cannot be factored because we try to, but it's not working. So if it's not working, then we have to use quadratic formula. So negative b, which is 1, plus minus b squared, which is 1, minus 4 times a, which is 1, c is 8, all over by 2a2. Now, what do you notice here is this fellow, when you calculate, is negative 31. And when you do the square root of negative 31, this is complex, I. So that means that if you have I in your x or y intercept, it means it does not exist. So your x-intercept does not exist here. So make sure that if you cannot factor it, you use the quadratic formula. If your square root is a negative number, it does not exist. If your square root is a positive number, then you will have two answers here. One is a plus, one is a minus. Okay, so we doesn't have, so in this case, this question does not have x-intercept. So next we have to figure out your y-intercept. And in order for you to find the y-intercept, you put all the x become 0. So in this case, you will get 0 squared minus 0 plus 8 over by 0 minus 8. So I put all these x to become 0. So this, you will get 8 and negative 8. So you will get negative 1. So in this case, we do have a y-intercept, and the y-intercept is 0, negative 1. We don't have an x-intercept in this case. Next thing is to find your asymptote. So how do we find your vertical asymptote? You guys do it. I want you guys to go ahead and find the vertical asymptote here. This is status. What is your vertical asymptote in this case? You have to set your denominator equals to 0. Thank you, Ryan. Don't forget that x equals 2. Okay. Next, we have to figure out your powers. So this top power is 2. The bottom power is 1. So again, 2 is greater than 1. So this time you will have a Slane asymptote. So in order for us to find the Slane asymptote, you have to use your syntactic division. The 8 that you found in your vertical asymptote will go in here. The number for this will be 1, negative 1, and 8. So you drop your 1. 8 times 1 is 8. Add it up, you get 7. Then 8 times 7. I really didn't care about this one because we don't care about your remainder. So can someone tell me what is your Slane asymptote in this case? You find out that I boxed all my answers because it's going to be easy for you when you graph it. So what is your Slane asymptote in this case? Yep, y equals to x plus 7. Yep, you can drop the 1 if you want to. So next we have to figure out, does it cross your HA? So how do we figure out if they cross your HA is you take all this, x squared minus x plus 8 over x minus 8. Not HA, it's SA. We don't have a horizontal. Class, your rational can only have either horizontal or slane. You cannot have both horizontal and slane. Okay, you can only have one of those. So what is the slane asymptote we find early on is x plus 7. So you make it equals to x plus 7. So this is the one that we want to figure out, do they cross? So you take the original function equals to the slane asymptote, and then I multiply the x minus 8 to this side. So what you have in this case is x squared minus x plus 8. For this follow-up, you will get x squared minus x minus 56. And you solve for x in this case, so you subtract x squared, you add x, and what do you notice when you try to solve for x here is both the x squared and x is cancel out, so this is not able to solve. The reason why you cannot solve this is because there's no x left. All your x's are canceled. So do we cross on the slane asymptote in this case? Yes or no? Since this is not solvable, yes or no? Anyone? Yep, so your answer is no. If it's solvable, then you tell me the coordinates, x equals to something, something. And behavior. So how do you figure out end behavior in this case? Is you use 8. This is 8, let's say. So we're going to do the 8 minus. 8 minus means is this side. So what number should we use for 8 minus? Anyone know what number should we use for 8 minus? Anyone? Yep, so we use 7.9. So what you do here is plug 7.9 into this equation, and you want to figure out, are they having a plus or a minus? So this is kind of like a calculator type. So so 7.9. I just need to figure out the sign. I don't care about the number. So 7.9 square, right? Plus minus 7.9 plus 8. So this came out to be a positive number. That's why I don't care about whatever number. I just figure out. And then 7.9 minus 8 is going to be negative. So that means this is going to be negative infinity. So that's telling us this will go down. And yes, in order for us to do the 8 plus, this is a minus. 8 plus. So 8 plus is this side. And yes, we will use 8.1. Again, we need to figure out. So now I plug 8.1 into this x. So if you have a good calculator, you can go back. So 8.1 squared minus 8.1 plus 8. So this one also come up to be positive. And then when you put 8.1 in here, 8.1 minus 8 is also positive. So this telling me that this goes to positive infinity. So on this side, it goes up. You guys all right here so far with this? The end behavior. Now, the good news is this one, you only have one vertical asymptote. Sometimes you got like 2 vertical asymptote, right? So if you have 2 vertical asymptote, then you have to do this 4 times. One for 8 minus, one for 8 plus, and then one is for 3 minus, and one is for 3 plus. So if you have double 2 vertical asymptote, you're going to do the end behavior 4 times. 1 minus, 1 plus on both of them. Okay, but this one we only have 1. So now we're going to graph this graph. So it's stated that we do not have any x-intercept. Your y-intercept is at 0, 1? 0, negative 1. So 0, negative 1 is right here. Okay. Now for your asymptote, we got x equals to 8. So x equals to 8. And y equals to x plus 7. Again, x plus 7, your y-intercept is 7. And this slope is 1. So you go up 1 over 1. Up 1. Yes, I will provide a graph paper, not like this one. This is a bit hard to draw. So this is your Slane asymptote. And make sure that if you draw this, make sure that you extend your asymptote so that it will cross. Okay. And then, so it does not cross on both of these asymptote, that's E. And then end behaviors telling us that this will goes down here and this will goes up. So this one looks exactly like the previous question we do. So it will go something like this. And then it go parallel to this asymptote. And then this one will go something like that. And this will not cross on the x because there's no x-intercept that we figured out. So this is what your graph will look like here. Anyone have any questions with this 21? Because it's very similar to question 19 that we just did. And I will do 23. Class, again, 12 points here. I'm talking about 12 points here. You got one of these questions in your test, so make sure you know how to do this. Those students who are still like, I don't know what to do or I kind of confused, I will recommend you to go to the D2L website and I recommend you to watch this. See that all these videos? This is for if you have a hole in your rational function. This is for Slane asymptote like the one we just did just now. This is what happens when you have two vertical asymptote. Remember, I told you you got two vertical asymptote, you do twice. Your y equals to 0, and then 2 vertical asymptote y equals to a and bm. So make sure that, and this is all coming from your notes here. So if you need help, watch this YouTube video because it will go through all this process for you. Okay. And the last question we're going to talk about is question number 23. So let's see about 23. What happens to that question? Where's my homework? 23. This is the last one. Again, oh, this one is okay. This one is not graphic. Perfect. Anyone done with this? I will change to 23. All right, for question number 23. So it's given us this, and they want you to give me the rational function. So how do we do this is we're going backwards now. Last time I give you the function, you give me all the asymptotes and all these things. Now I give you asymptotes, you give me the function. So when you have a vertical asymptote, x equals to 5, you have to put this in your denominator. Don't forget, all your vertical asymptote is in your denominator. So in this case, it will be x minus 5. So what you do here is you move the 5 backwards like this. Okay, so that means that your denominator will have x minus 5. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is your 0. 0 is the same thing as your x-intercept. So if the question gives you 0 is this, it's the same thing as x-intercept, which given us -5. And as you guys remember from the previous one, 0 goes to your numerator. So when you move in there, so you got x plus 5. Okay. So far, our function looks something like this. F of x. Oops. X plus 5 is in the numerator. And x minus 5 is in your denominator. Right? This is top and bottom. And now we're talking about the Slane asymptote. Now, since the Slane asymptote telling us that the top power has to be greater than the bottom power, so that means that this one is already power 1. So this has to be power 2. So in order for us to have a power 2, then this one has to be x plus a. Because when you FOIL this, you get x squared. That is power 2. and this is power 1. So now we just need to figure out what is this A is. So how do we do this? Is since the question gives us the same asymptote is x plus 1, so what do I do is I replace this x plus 1 to f of x. So this f of x, I'll replace x plus 1 in it. Your same asymptote. So we got x plus 5, x plus a over by x minus 5. So as usual, I multiply the x minus 5 to this side. And you begin to FOIL this. Okay. So the FOILing for this, you will get x squared minus 4x minus 5. Now the FOILing of this is tricky because you will get x squared plus ax plus 5x plus 5a. Now these two terms have the same like terms of x, so you can factor out, become a plus 5. So this will give me x squared plus a plus 5x plus 5a. So now what you need to do is you take this term and you solve it for a. So a plus 5 is equals to -4. The reason why you take these two to solve it is because they all have x terms on it. Or otherwise, you can also take this term and this term to solve it because they are constant term. Or you can solve -5 equals to 5a. No matter which way you pick, your a is still going to be the same answer. This one is -1, right? Oh, this is different. Oh, no. We cannot use, sorry about that. We cannot use that fellow. Sorry. We cannot use him. We cannot use this fellow. Sorry about that. The reason why we cannot use this is because remember when we perform syntactic division, our remainder, we ignore it, right? This will be your remainder. So that's the reason why I don't solve for this. Sorry about that. Do not solve for the constant term, solve for the x term. Okay. So a in this case is going to be a -9. So this is a -9 in this case. So your answer in this case will be x plus 5, x minus 9, because this will give you 9, and x minus 5. So your, I'm going to type this out as this is your answer in this case. So it'll be x plus 5, x minus 9, and then x minus 5. So you'll be the one that you just see just now on here. This is the one. So this is how we do this question here. And then graphing this is very easy because they already give you the intercept in this case. So so this is how we do this question. And then the graphing this is easy because they already provide you the vertical asymptote at 5. So this is 5. The Snellen asymptote of x plus 1. X plus 1 means that 1 and then go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So you look something like this. And then they have a 0 at -5. So at -5, it will cross. So it should be something like, should we look something like this? Oops, sorry. Should look something like this. And I think the other one should be, let's see. One looks something like this. No, this one doesn't cross over here. I think the other one goes up. If you doesn't know what is this is, the easiest way for us to plot points. So you just plot 6 over here into this function. So 6 plus 5 times with 6 minus 9 over by 6 minus 5. So this is 11. This is 1. This is -3. Oh, this one is going all the way down here because this is -33. So it's all the way down. So it looks something like this. There you go, like -5, like this one. So it look very similar to this. I think it's this. Yeah, it should be this one. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's either this one or this one. There's only 2 options we have. Yep. So it looks something like what I just draw. Right over here. Look, this one and this one over here. So this side and that side. So again, I won't ask you for graphing this. In a test, I also come up something like this in your test, like number 23. But I just want you to give me the function, but I'm not asking you to graph this. Okay, so in a test, you also get something like number 23 without the graphing, and also like one of those questions you did earlier on, like number 20, and like the one that we just did before, like number 20. So make sure you guys practice this. This is something that I would suggest you guys to do. If you guys need help, watch the videos, and the videos can be found in your D2L. So make sure you watch the D2L on all the videos. And I just posted 4.3 and 4.4 conic section video, which is your homework due on next Tuesday. So that's it for today. So I'm gonna stop sharing here. Do not forget your test comes after chapter 5. So in another 2 weeks, you will have a test. So let's see, let me see when's the test again. You guys know when's the test again? Where is my, again, just to remind you guys, your test is coming out. Where is my syllabus? There you go. Just for you guys to know that, so you guys, your test is on October 13th, which is kind of like a month from now. It will go from chapter 2 to chapter 5 and then 9.1. So everything we covered so far. So you will have a midterm. Don't forget your test is a take-home test. You got 24 hours to do so. And then you do on Wednesday, October 14th. So make sure you scan, make sure you have your CAM scanner or some scanning devices to scan your documents to send it to me. So for those students who doesn't have a CAM scanner or haven't used a scanning device before, make sure you go do it now. Just take some 3-4 documents, scan it. It has to be in PDF file. So make sure that you guys do scan your documents to me. So that is your midterm. Please put this in your calculator. Put this in your cell phone to remind you that on Tuesday, October 13th, we have a Zoom session on that day too, on Tuesday. So I will remind you again that on October we have a Zoom session on October 13th on Tuesday. So if you have a cell phone or something else to like a scheduling or a calendar, just put it in there so that you will don't forget, because I got students forget this midterm, and your midterm is 30% of your final grade. So you will actually fail my class. So that's why make sure you guys put it in your calendar, your cell phone, or wherever to remind you that you have a Tuesday on October 13th, and your final is on December 14th here. Nehemiah, I will send you this to you on the email. I will send this this syllabus to you on the email. Okay, and I also send a link for the 4.3 and 4.4 that that I have on. So I will send all this to you, Nehemiah, to your email. So you do not need to write everything down. All right. Anyone has any questions for me? So start doing your homework, and mostly a lot of homework, you got it right. Just don't forget to put x equals 2 or y equals 2. If does not exist, don't type anything. Just type x equals to 5 and that's it. Okay, don't type like what we just did previously. So don't do what we talk about here. The one that you remember, the end behavior is also in 4.1. If you see all this little infinity, this is what we call as an end behavior. So if you did 4.1 homework, you should know what is the end behavior. So if you doesn't know what it is, this is what we talk about the end behavior on the first 5 questions. That this is the end behavior type. Okay. All right. So if you have questions, you may stay back after here. I got time. If you don't have questions, you may go. I'm gonna stop recording this.